I wanted to get on here and oh my goodness, honestly, it's a windy day out there. I actually wanted to tell a humor story. So going into sobriety can be a frightful thing. It can also be an empowering experience. So I wanted to explain my very first AA meeting outside of detox. So just a background, I had been drinking for 16 years. The past 2 years had been every day. I had what they had called wet brain. I couldn't form sentences, I couldn't form thoughts. I could make it to point A to point B, but any time in between, I would just kind of do my own thing. So, anyways, I was going to go to my first AA meeting outside of detox, and it was at a place called the Eureka Club. So I thought, what an interesting place to have an AA meeting. So I got there and I'm tired, but I'm ready to go and I'm gonna walk into this room all by myself. And so I did, and they had benches lined up and there was a stage. And I was like, well, this is weird. This is way different than detox. Because in detox, you had your meetings in a little room with coffee, and they'd have cookies and snacks. Because one of our biggest cravings is sugar and carbs. And I go into detail of nutrition and the reasoning behind this throughout some of my posts and other videos that I will be putting up. So I got into this place and they had their coffee and they had their donuts. And so I went up there and I did find that it was very interesting that I was the only Caucasian person in there. So it was a little intimidating, and I was the youngest. So I went into detox. I went into recovery at 32. So they were probably in their late 40s, early 50s, and they started talking. And I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, we should be starting the meeting. And when we open up meetings, we open up with the Serenity Prayer, and nothing was being happened. And they started talking about the government, and I thought, oh, why would we be talking about the government right now? And when they got to me, so the one man on the stage goes, and this young lady, well, we don't know what her thoughts are. And I looked at them and I was like, and I was like, I'm just here for the AA meeting. And I was just like, and he goes, oh, that's down the hall to the right. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I think what was so funny, because I could hear them laughing, was that it was, I believe it was like an Aboriginal meeting of some sort. So they have a bunch of different rooms. But I could hear them laughing down the hallway. And I thought, you know what? I felt fine. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't sweating like I used to be so scared and sweating and, go into meetings and be all nervous. And I got into my AA meeting, and when I got in there, I introduced myself and I told them my story. That story. So, and everybody laughed. So I just want to make sure that I know that a lot of people don't like AA meetings, and quite honestly, I don't attend anymore. I have my own reasons, and it has nothing to do with that. It's just with my schedule, and I don't take my son in, and it's hard to get babysitters. And then after COVID, I found different solutions. But for those who really need it, and I definitely suggest meetings, especially in early recovery, because you have that support. Pick the ones, they were telling me go to a bunch of different meetings and make sure that you find the right one. And the Eureka Club was a very good meeting. um, I often ran into the people from the other meeting, and we'd talk and we'd have our little conversation, and then they'd go their way and I'd go down to the hall to the right. So anyways, that's my humor in sobriety today. Have a great day.